Oscar is a 4-year-old boy who goes to preschool 5 days a week until noon. 1 or 2 times a week, he has some afternoon activity classes. One of the activities is an arts class. In that class, there are 7 other children, and the majority are girls, but there are 2 other boys. One of the other boys, Ian, is almost a best friend for Oscar. He loves to go to art class because he loves to be with Ian. On this particular day, something was happening in the class for whatever reason, and Oscar and Ian were being very silly and wouldn't listen to the teacher, Oscar especially. Finally, the teacher kind of lost her control and sent Oscar out of the room, kind of talked to him strongly and sent him out of the room into the hallway. By chance, his mother happened to be walking by. She had gone to get a coffee and came back a little bit early, and as she was walking by, she saw Oscar sitting on the floor outside of the door with his head down in his lap. And she went over and asked him what was wrong. And initially, he was very reluctant to say anything or to look at her or anything. Eventually, she got out of him that there was some trouble in art class, and the teacher told him to sit outside until he could, function in the class with the others. So what happened next was interesting because the mom tried to coerce Oscar into going back into that room. And this 4-year-old was adamant that he was not going back into the room. And his mom really didn't know what to do. So I'm just going to step in here. I'm not going to tell you actually what happened because it's a real fresh experience. But the thing of it is that was such a beautiful example of how strongly our little boys react to being shamed or embarrassed. I don't believe a child should ever be sent out of a room to begin with, but the fact is that he couldn't function. He was so embarrassed, not only for, what happened in the classroom, but that was his best friend in there, Ian, and he didn't want to see him after they'd been having fun, playing around, having a good time, and then Oscar was the one who got sent away. So he's really, really embarrassed. Probably the best thing that Mom could do is see if she could just, maybe stay with him until the class is over, not force him to go back in, but wait, see if she could have a moment to speak with the teacher, actually. But so that Oscar understands that she gets him. Even though maybe he misbehaved, there are so many other factors there. He's 4 years old. He's already had a half a day at school. This is the afternoon. Some 4-year-olds are still taking naps. It's kind of not set up for success, the whole scene to begin with. But he really was in emotional pain because he had been ostracized and separated and embarrassed, and something like that should never happen. But the most important part of this is how his mom is going to react, whether her reactions are going to make her relationship to Oscar stronger, or if he is going to feel more separated and that she just doesn't get him. So it's really her understanding of how deeply affected he is by being so embarrassed about what happened, rather than the behavior itself.